Okay, guys, if you will answer quickly and we will finish early, okay? That's why let's start. Okay, our topic is called Medicine of New Times, about biomedical medicine, and today we will talk about pathology, about histology, microbiology, and anatomy, and talk about disciplines. Sorry. Okay, who want to start?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Who want to start?
Excuse me, ma'am, but the topic was medicine of early and developmental ages.
What?
And you are
No, it's
talking.
medicine of new time and biomedical disciplines.
Yes.
But ma'am, the topic you gave us yesterday, it was medicine of the early and developed middle ages, like in Eastern Roman and Byzantium. But you are talking about someone else, something else.
About Byzantium, we passed this topic.
Yeah, you passed it. It's on Thursday, first
Oh,
of
okay.
Okay. Okay, guys, let's start. If you will answer quickly and we will finish early, okay? That's why. Let's start.
Excuse me, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. I was absent in the previous lecture, so I didn't prepare the today's lecture. I just thought it is about the Mycenaean Byzantium, so I just prepared that topic. I didn't prepare the today's topic.
Okay, okay.
Hello, ma'am.
Okay, let's start.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Taisif. Yes.
Tosif is present, ma'am.
Okay. Let's start. Tausif Rahman.
Ma'am, which topic explain?
Medicine of New Times, biomedical disciplines, yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's start.
Ma'am, I don't know about this topic.
Ma'am, can I?
0. Okay, Wasalali.
Ma'am, from us,
What is the history of New Times?
history of new times. Asking about plan, ma'am.
No, what is the when New Time did start? History of New Times.
History of new times. Ma'am, the term new time was first introduced in the 16th century. It is identified with the period of development of capitalist relations 1640 to 1918. A characteristic feature in the English Bourgeois revolution in the 1640 development of the colonial system and the struggle for the redistribution of the colonies with the ended in 1918. Capitalist production required the development of natural science, knowledge, mechanism, physics, chemistry. Outstanding scientific discoveries of the 17th-18th century has a diffuse influence on the formation of modern medicine. Morphological science, pathology, histology, physiology, and clinical medicine received predominant development. And ma'am, also discoveries. A great discovery of natural science.
Yes.
From 1838 to 1839. The theory of the cellular structure of living organisms children from 1838 to 1839. The cell is the main structure component of plant and animals. The law of conservation.
Okay, what is the cell?
What, ma'am?
What is the cell?
What, ma'am? I not.
What is the cell?
Chef?
Cell.
Cell? Ma'am, you are asking about cell?
Yes. What is the cell?
Cell is a structure and functional unit of human body.
And can you compare difference between plant and animal cell?
Difference between
plant and animal cell.
Man. Ma'am, plant cell contain large singular vacuoles.
Mhm.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
Ma'am, plant cell contain large singular vacuoles.
And what about cell wall?
About
Cell wall.
cell wall. Ma'am, cell wall is a structural layer surrounding some types of cell outside of the cell membrane. It's thought flexible and sometimes rigid.
Okay, continue about discoveries of natural sciences.
Discoveries of natural sciences. Ma'am, grade the theory of the cellular structure of the living organism shown in 1838, 1839. The cell is the main structural component of the plants and animals. The law, conservation, and transformation of energy, Lavoisier, Lomonosov in 1756 to 1774, an idea of the transformation of food into blood is given. The evolutionary doctrine of Charles Darwin to 1859 and G. Mendel laws are heredity and variability in 1855, and formation of the anatomical school in the Western Europe and Russia. Anatomy, Greek anatomy, cutting dissection, the largest anatomical school of that time was found in the Leiden University. One of the largest anatomic of the time is Frederick Ruch in 1638 to 1731, received his medical education at the University of Leiden. Ruch defended his dissertation in 1665 and was invited as Amsterdam to lecture of anatomy for the City Guild of Surgeons. Frederick Ruch, 1638 to 1731. Frederick Ruch is a outstanding Dutch anatomist. He perfectly mastered the technique of referring anatomical preparation and the method of the injecting blood vessel with colored liquids. He invented an original way to embalm corpus, created the first anatomical museum, over 2,000 exhibits, founding of anatomical school in Russia, associated with the era of the Peter I, 1682 to 1725. Peter first attended Ruch lectures in Amsterdam in 1698 and 1717, was presented at the operation and anatomical dissection in 1707 by decree of Peter. The first hospital school in the Russia was founded in the General Hospital in Moscow. Autopsies were carried out in it, at which the Tsar was present. Peter first established in Moscow in 1699 a course of lecture for boyars on anatomy with a demonstration of corpuscles. In 1777, Peter I cured Ruch anatomical collection 2000 exhibit, which became the beginning of the funds of the first Russian museum in Kunstkamera, Kunst Art.
Okay, Wasal Ali, thank you.
Thank you.
Farhan Ali. Farhan Ali. Absent.
Yes, ma'am.
Why are you silent?
Muhammad Ali present, ma'am.
No, Faisal Ali.
Yes, ma'am.
Faisal Ali. Okay, continue, Faisal Ali. Why are you silent?
Sorry, ma'am.
Me?
From where I will continue?
Are you listening us?
What, ma'am?
Are you listening us?
Yes, ma'am. But voice is not clear, ma'am. That's why
Hence, why are you asking?
Ma'am, your voice is not clear.
And Vessel Ali, please tell him.
Yes, ma'am. Founder of Russia Anatomical School.
Okay, ma'am. Founding of anatomical schools in Russia. Founding of anatomical schools in Russia is associated with the era of Peter I in 1682 to 1725 century. Peter I attended Rossi's lecture in Amsterdam was present at operations and anatomical dissection. In 1707, by the decree of Peter I, the first hospital school in Russia was founded at the General Hospital in Moscow. Peter I established in Moscow in 1699 a course of lectures for boys on anatomy with a demonstration on corpses. In 1717, Peter I acquired Ross's anatomical dissection collection, 2000 round about 2000 exhibits, which became the beginning of the funds of the first Russian museum, the uh, Kunst, Kunst, Kunstkamera. Kunstkamera. Hello, madam,
And
can you founders of Russian anatomical schools? Three persons are involved in the founders of Russian anatomical schools. Konstantin Shipan is a professor of anatomy, taught medicine, founder of the anatomical school. Pyotr and Andreevich Zagorsky approved
Mhm.
Russian anatomical terminology instead of Latin, developed a methodology for teaching students anatomy on corpses, created a classification of abnormalities, teratology. Ilya Vasilievich Boalsky published anatomical and surgical tables on topographic anatomy and operative surgery. Around about 14 tablets and 36 figures depicting organs in full size in 1828.
Mhm.
Development of general pathology. General pathology includes pathological anatomy and pathological physiology. Pathological anatomy is derived from the Greek word pathos, meaning disease, is a science that studies the structural basis of the pathological processes derived from anatomy in the middle of 18th century. Its development in the new time history is divided into two periods. First period is the macroscopic and the second period is microscopic.
Mhm.
Macroscopic period of pathological development. The cell theory was founded in the works of German scientist, botanist Matthias Schilden and zoologist Theodor Schwann.
Mhm.
Schwann in 1838 showed that every cell has a small nucleus in the center and defined its role in the development and the division of the cell. Theodor Schwann in 1839 defined the cell as a structure and functional unit of flora and fauna.
Mhm.
The first attempt to systemize body tissues without the use of microscope was made by the physicians Francisco uh, Xavier Bichet, who is considered the founder of histology as a science. He created the first classification of the body tissues and body organs and organ systems. The
Okay.
beginning of
Okay, Faisal Ali, thank you.
May I
Ayesha
continue?
Kamar. Okay, Taysif Rahman. Continue.
May I the founder of pathology, in Western Europe, ma'am. This side, continue.
Yes. Continue.
Yes, ma'am. The founder of pathology in Western Europe, Giovanni Marconi, 1682 to 1721. Francois Bichet, 1771, 1802. Carol Carol Ro- Ro-
Rokitansky.
Roketansi, 1804, 1878. Rodolphe Virtue, 1821 to 1902. Another is Francois Zurich, 1771, 1802 RR. Francois Zurich, 1771, 1802 is considered the founder of histology as a science. He showed that the vital activity of an individual organ is composed of the function of various tissue. Disease process, another disease process is localized not in the organ but in the tissue. Gianni Marchioni, 1682 to 1721 RR, is Italian anatomist and physician. He showed that each disease caused certain changes in the scientific organ. Another, he created the first scientifically based classification of disease. Medicine 1800 to 1899. Um, Gioni Battista Marconi, 1682 1771, pioneer of pathological anatomy and another of the seat and cause of disease. 1761 established the existence of the uh, correlation between clinical symptoms and mm, postmor- postmortem finding. Ma- Morgani's research Morgani's research helped establish a new epoch in medical science and a new attitude towards scientific diagnostic and surgical innovation. His work encouraged scientists to find ways of detecting hidden and anatomical lesion of living patient. Medicine 1800 to 1899. The goal was realized by the chest Persian percussion studies. The Lipid Evenberger, 1722 1809. The invention of the stethoscope by René Laennec, 1781 to 1826. The introduction of the increasingly stethos,
Mm-hmm.
uh, medical instrument, the establishment of the hospital medicine and pathological anatomy at the Paris hospital, the tissue theory of Mary Francois, uh, Francois Xavier Beckett, and 1771 to 1802. The numerical method, clinical statistic of Piri Charles Alexander Lewis, 1787, 1872, and so forth. Another, medicine 1899. Although hospital reform was difficult and expensive, the hospital was transformed into the new center of medical treatment, teaching, and research. Large urban hospital offered um, unprecedented opportunities for, for, for clinical experiment and statistical studies. As hospital assumed a more important role in the care of the patient, especially in growing urban areas, nursing emerged as a respectable professor for women. Another gaining admission to the medical profession itself was very difficult for women, but Elizabeth Blackwell, 1821 to 1910, was and another demonstrated that women could practice medicine, establish clinical hospital and medical colleges. Another medicine, 1800 to 1899. Although nutrition is generally regarded as a 20th century science, the belief that health and long life depend on the regulation of food and drink is one of the most ancient and universal principle of medical philosophy. The the clinical revolution of the 18th century challenged traditional ways of classifying food. By the end of the 19th century, these chemical categories were giving way to a new physiological concept of the role of food substance in the animal economy. The modern science of nutrition grew out of the effort of understand and isolate isolate the dietary factors that prevent deficiency disease, but this required consider progress in chemistry.
Mhm.
Another medicine 1800 to 1899. Um, Nevertheless, the Scribbly experiment of James Land 1716 to 1794 provide proved it was possible to prevent disease by the scientific changes in diet. Lion tested possible in a controlled dietary experiment and demonstrated that organs and uh, lemon could survey. Nevertheless, lemon did not become part of a standard ration in the American Navy until 1812. During the 19th century, the threat of infections, disease uh, diverted attention from dietary and degenerative disease.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's it, ma'am.
Okay. Teşekkür ederim. Şükran.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Full 20 score, okay?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Rida Shahmaz. Rida Shahbaz.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, continue.
Okay, ma'am.
Who is the Karl Rakitansky?
Carol Oakland dynasty is is a pathologist, by naturalist, member of the Wings and Paris Academies of the Sciences.
Mhm.
He created the first department of pathological anatomy in Europe. He
Mhm.
created a three-volume work, Manual of Pathological Anatomy, based on more than 20,000 autopsies performed using macro and and microscopic methods of research. The main cause of the disease was a change in the composition of fluid in organism.
Mhm.
Rudolf Virchow. The principle of the morphological method in pathology was laid by the German doctor, pathologist, and public figure, taking into the account the theory of cellular structure. He first applied to the sick organism and created the theory of cellular pathology as a doctrine based on physiological and pathological history. He believed that the cell is the material substrate of the disease.
Mhm.
Development of history.
History is a Greek word and its mean tissue teaching. It is a science studying the structure of tissues of living organisms, and it includes two periods, pre-microscopic and microscopic.
Mm-hmm.
The
What is the
found
macroscopic and microscopic?
microscopic small particles.
When do we use microscope? Yes.
Yes, and microscope and pre-microscopic before microscopic.
So what about macroscopic?
Ma'am, can you repeat?
Macroscopic. What does it mean, macroscopic?
The study of tissues under the microscope.
It's a microscopic and macroscopic.
Study of tissue after the invention of microscope.
No.
Ma'am, may I?
Search. Yes.
Ma'am, macroscopic is the study of large cells, and microscopic is the study of very small cells which we can't see with the naked eye. So we have to use something like these, so we can just clearly.
What's your name?
Ma'am, it's Rabia Sajid.
Rabia. Okay.
Ma'am, can I continue?
Yes, continue.
The founder of histology, Robert Hooke. It is introduced the term microscope, microscopic technology. So microscopic technology, magnifying the glasses microscope. Anthony Van Leeuwenhoek. Malpighi. The great contribution to the development of histology. John Evangelist Perkinji is one of the founder of the doctrine of cellular structure. Anthony van Leeuwenhoek is invented the microscopic founder of scientific microscopy. He achieved high perfection in the manufacture of lenses, which gave a magnification of 270 times. He explained the microscopic structure of various forms of living tissue using his invention. And he described the smallest bodies and cell that is called them.
Yes. What about Marcello Malpighi?
Yes, ma'am. I speak. Marcello Spinci, an Italian physician, anatomist. He discovered the capillaries. He discovered the formed element of blood. He presented the two work on the formation of a chicken in an egg and on the development of an egg. John Evangelist Perkins was a chess naturalist and public figure. He discovered the fiber of the cardiac conductive system. He is the founder of the Prageohistological School, and he is the founder of the theory of cellular structure. Development of microbiology. Microbiology is a micros means small. Is a science of a microorganism, their structure, life, they cause in the organism of people, animal, plants, and inanimate nature. It includes two periods, empirical and experimental. Empirical development of antiseptic, and experimental work by the Louis Pasteur, Robert Koch, Edward. Experimental period.
Okay.
Edward Jenner is a British physician. He publicly conducted experiment on the method of vaccination against the smallpox. In this procedure, 8-year-old boy with the content of a pustule from the hand of a peasant
Mm-hmm.
woman who had become cowpox.
Okay, this was Rida Shahbaz, yes?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Rida
Mm-hmm.
Shah.
Rabia Sajid, yes? Rabia.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, about can you complete about microbiology? What is the microbiology?
Ma'am, microbiology is the study of small, micro means small, and biology related to the living organisms. So microbiology is the branch of science in which we study the minor structures of the living organisms,
Mm-hmm.
small structures of the living organisms.
Mm-hmm. And what
There are two
about
periods.
what?
Sorry, ma'am. What were you
Okay,
about to say?
continue about microbiology.
Okay, ma'am. There are two periods, main periods in the development of history of microbiology. Number one
Mm-hmm.
is empirical, and number two is experimental.
Mm-hmm.
And the empirical is the development of antiseptics that can be used against the viral, that can be used about the infectious diseases. Number two is the experimental, and this period includes the works of Louis Pasteur, Robert Koch, and Matinokov. Then Edward Jenner is the British physician. He publicly, Edward Jenner was a physician who first invented the vaccination, and he invented the vaccination through when he just treated the patient with smallpox, and he got the vaccine from the cow. So that the word vacca means cow, so it's that's why he just gave the name of that treatment vaccination. And he repeated these experiments for many times to conduct the results. And he then next was Ignaz Semmelweis. Ignaz Semmelweis was Hungarian doctor, pioneer of antiseptics. And antiseptics then working in an obstetric clinic in Vienna, he found that the cause of septic complications in postpartum women are dirty hands of medical personnel. He proposed a method of protection, washing hands with a solution of bleach. Then Joseph Lisser. Joseph Lister was a surgeon of Scotland. He just linked the aspiration of wounds of the ingress of bacteria, providing a scientific explanation for surgical infection. He developed the theoretical substantiated measures using a 2 to 5% solution of carbolic acid. Sprayed carbolic acid in the operating room air and treated items in contact with the wounds, surgeon hands, instruments, and dressings. Like the hands of the surgeons which were not cleaned, they just sprayed carbolic acid. So and all the instruments were sprayed by the carbolic acid, so they can used in the treatment. Then Louis Pasteur. Louis Pasteur is a French chemist. He was the founder of immunology and microbiology. Immunology is just a branch of science in which we study about the immune system of the human body. And he studied the role of microorganism in the process of fermentation, decay, and disease. And he
Mm-hmm.
also studied about the fungi, the activity of fungus to decay the material. And he created a vaccine against anthrax and rabies. In 1885, he organized the first anti-rabies station in Paris, created an institute Pasteur to control rabies and other infections. Then
Mm-hmm.
Koch. Robert Koch is a German doctor, microbiologist, and hygienist, founder of bacteriology. Bacteriology is the branch of science in which we studies about the origin of bacteria, development of bacteria, and the diseases caused by different bacteria. He
Mm-hmm.
discovered the causative agent of tuberculosis, cholera, and anthrax. outlined the concept of a pathological tuberculosis process cost tried. He proposed a method for growing bacteria's cultures on nutrient media. For his research on tuberculosis, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1905. Then Ilya Meshnikov. Ilya Meshnikov is an outstanding Russian biologist, pathologist, immunologist, and bacteriologist. He was also the winner of Nobel Prize for the theory of immunity, described as in seminal work, Studies on Nature. He discovered leukocytes, spleen cells, bone marrow, called them phagocytes. These cells help in the immunity. Leukocytes, spleen cells, they fight against the bacteria and infections that cause in the body. Then he created the phagocytic theory, the theory of immunity to infectious diseases. Organizer of the first Pasteur station in Russia to control rabies and other infectious diseases. Then development of physiology in Western Europe and Russia. Physiology. Physiology is the branch of science that studies the.
Stop right there. Okay, what do you understand after this? What do you understand
Sorry,
about microbiology? What do you understand?
microbiology, ma'am. I need to simplify it. Okay, ma'am. Microbiology is the.
No, what do you understand? Just it's your own words. Just say, oh, in your own words. What do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm gonna say it. Ma'am, microbiology is a branch of science in which we studies the small structures and like cells and the structures made up of cells, tissues. This is microbiology, and microbiology at the origin of time, it just or its development continued in two periods. First period, it was empirical and experimental periods. Empirical periods were in which the great physiologist and great like Edward Jenner, Edward Jenner worked on empirical period of development of microbiology. He developed he just developed the method to create the antiseptics, and antiseptic is the antiseptics have the curative properties to cure the infectious diseases like arthritis and these diseases. The experimental period, second period was the experimental period, and it was a long period in which the different scientists and physiologists gives the periods, gives experiment on different diseases, and they found the causative properties of that diseases, and then they just invented the treatment to that diseases. The 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 great people included in that period who just worked on the experimental period was Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch, Edward Jenner. So the main invention of that period was vaccination. Vaccination was invented by the Louis Pasteur or Edward Jenner. It was by Edward Jenner. Okay, vaccination by Edward Jenner. Vaccination was. Sorry, ma'am. Do you want to say?
No, continue.
Okay, vaccination was the treatment against smallpox, and it was invented by the Edward Jenner. Edward Jenner invented it when he first injected the child, and then he just invented and he just got to know that cow milk has some properties to cure the smallpox. The cause he just first founded the cause of the smallpox, then he treated it by the cow milk, and he named that treatment vaccination due to cow milk. Then that's what else, ma'am.
Okay.
Then
Next one. Ikra Gulam. Rabia Sajid, 20 score, okay? Full 20 score.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Ikra Gulam.
Yes.
Okay, continue about.
About ma'am development of physiology.
Yes.
Ma'am, the physiology basically means physio means nature and logy means the study. So physiology is the study of nature. It is a science that studies the vital activity of the organism, their parts, systems, and the cells in close relation with the surrounding nature. The history of physiology mainly includes two periods, the empirical and experimental. In the experimental, there are two stages. That is the experimental physiological directions before the Pavlov and after Pavlov. So this all was the development of physiology in the Western Europe and Russia. Then Albrecht Haller, he was a Swiss physiologist, a naturalist, and the founder of experimental physiology. He established the essence of respiration in the lungs. He also established the properties of muscle fibers, their elasticity, and then their contractility, etc. And then he also believed that the physiological knowledge is associated with the metaphysical thinking. And he also assumed that the contractions of the heart depend on an unknown cause, that is which lies in the very structure of the heart. So this was just an assumption made by him. Then he's also an author of one of the first textbooks on physiology. He also, at the University of Göttingen, he founded an anatomical theater and a botanical garden. Then Ivan Sechno, he was the founder of physiology in Russia. He also studied the physiology of respiration and blood, the dissolution of gases in liquids, and the exchange of energy. He also laid the foundations of aviation and space physiology. He also discovered the reflex nature of high nervous activity, and he also began to consider that the activity of the human brain as the reflexes. He also wrote a book named as The Reflexes of the Brain. This includes the mental outlook and the level of culture that was not determined by the individual characteristics of a person, but by the influence of living conditions and nature. Then Ivan Pavlov, he was a physiologist, well-known. He was a well-known physiologist of Russia. And then he also won a Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1904. He was also the creator of doctrine of higher nervous activity. He worked in the field of physiology in cardiovascular system and the digestive and central nervous systems. He also made the principle of nervosism. That was the idea of the nervous system in the regulation of the functional state and regarding the activity of all organs of the system of the body. Then he also revealed reflexes on the conditions that if there is a fixed under certain conditions and some were unconditioned, that was that those reflexes were available from the birth. Shall I continue?
Yes, continue.
And then I'm in Russia, the creation of the foundation of materialistic direction in physiology is also associated with the activities of this founder, Philo Maksky, and he was the founder of the Moscow Physiological School. He also defended his doctoral dissertation on the breathing of birds. Then for 2 years, he worked in Germany in the laboratory of I. Muller. And in 1935, he finally became a professor at Moscow University. Then he was one of the first propagandists of the experimental method in Russian physiology and medicine. So basically, he did so many works for Russia. And then together with N.I. Mirogov, he developed the method of intravenous anesthesia, the digestion anesthesia, and then the using the technique of vivisection. He also studied the physiology of respiration, and then the digestion and the blood transfusion. Then he also created devices for blood transfusion, a mask for anesthesia, and other physiological devices. And then um, P. Botkin, he was another physiologist who began with the transformations. He was the first in Russia to create an experimental laboratory at his own clinic in 1860 to 1861, where he performed his physical and chemical analysis and studied the physiological and pharmacological effects of medicinal substances. He was also the first one to suggest that the jaundice hepatitis was caused by an infection, which was not known earlier. And in the early 1860s, Botkin was appointed as a member of the Medical Commission of the Imperial Ministry of Internal Affairs. Then Dietrich Barfoot, he was a physiologist, anatomist, and an embryologist. He was also a teacher and a rector of the University of Rostock. And then he was basically a doctor of medical sciences. And then his scientific works concerned especially the physiology, as he was a physiologist, and then an anatomist as well. So his works were concerned with physiology and biology of humans and animals. And in the recent years, he worked mainly in the field of evolutionary mechanics. And then he was engaged in the issues of organ regeneration and at different stages of life.
Okay, Ikragulam, thank you. Full 20 score. Arbaz Mubarak. Arbaz Mubarak.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what is the new time? What you understand, and when this new time was started?
What is the question? Hello? Hello?
What?
Ma'am, what is the question?
When the new time was started? In which year?
Ma'am, 1700.
Mm-hmm. $17?
Ma'am, 1640 to 1918. 1918. History of new time period. And this is the question.
Yes. And what about Robert Hooke?
Ma'am, Robert Hooke introduced the terms microscope, 30-time magnifications in 1625. Microscopic technologies was born. And ma'am,
And what do you understand about microbiology?
ma'am, microbiology is the study of small particles which we cannot see from naked eye. There are 5 branches of microbiology: bacteriology, immunology, mycology, parasitology, and psychology.
Okay, this
Physics.
was what's your name?
Arbaz Mubarak.
Arbaz Mubarak, sorry. Arbaz Mubarak. Okay. Ayesha Kamar. Ayesha, Kamar.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is the pathology?
Ma'am, are you saying about pathology?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Pathology is a branch of science. It's about the origin and nature of diseases. It's about the examination of the tissues, organs, body fluids, and the other and to study and diagnose the diseases.
Mm-hmm. Right. What is the macroscopic and microscopic?
Macroscopic are the particles. Macroscopic are the large particles that we can see without microscope, and the microscopic are the smallest particles that we can't see without microscope.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, thank you. Guys, your homework for the next time, please come prepared for the topics of student independent work because I will ask you one question. Did you send me all the students your student independent work?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I will ask you one question about your slide, and I will send you the next topic, and after the 2 weeks you have a module. Do you know?
Next week, ma'am.
So after the 2 weeks, and you have a module, and we will finish this subject, history of medicine. That's why come prepared, okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Do you understand your homework?
Yes, ma'am.
And for today, Farhan Ali 0, and to another student, okay, no, Muhammad Gulshair, absent. Okay, Rabia Mehdi.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is the microbiology? Just say what is the microbiology.
Microbiology is a study of science in which we study about the organisms which are very small.
And what is the macroscopic and microscopic difference?
Microscopic, the word micro means small. So in microscopic is a study in which we use organisms which are very small and cannot be seen with naked eyes. And macroscopic, macro means large. So in this field, we study the organisms which are can be seen with naked eyes. We do not go for that. Yes, ma'am.
Module on Zoom will be Rabia Mehdi, and I will ask you questions about this one. And do you understand?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, and you must answer verbally. That's why your model will be in Zoom, and of course on the model there will be test.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, guys. This GM10 and GM6. Okay, GM10 Gm6-10 and Gm6. You're very active, guys. That's why for today, okay, I will give you 20 score, also all of you, but please come prepared for the model, okay?
Okay, ma'am. Thanks.
Okay, guys. That's why please read, come prepared for the next time, and after the 2 weeks you have a module. And okay, guys.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, and I hope that you will pass the module. Yes. Okay, guys. Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? Okay. For the today, Muhammad Gulshair was absent. And what about Muhammad Abdullah?
Yes, ma'am, present.
Okay, present. And Malaika Faiz?
Present, ma'am.
Abdul Kadir? Abdul Kadir? Absent. Alishba Azam? Alishba Azam Gondal? Absent. Okay. Okay, guys. Okay, guys. Our lesson is end, and that's why. Okay, guys. Goodbye, Vaka.
Goodbye. До свидания.
До свидания, пока.
До свидания, ma'am.